The night Arman Kadir realized his life had been built on a lie, the world did not shatter all at once. It cracked quietly, like thin ice beneath unsuspecting feet. It began with a sound he had waited years to hear, a trembling, fragile whisper in the darkness, a sound that should have been impossible. His paralyzed twins, the children who had never spoken, never cried, never even called him father, made a noise that did not belong to silence. And in that moment, Arman understood that the truth can sleep for years, only to awaken when someone dares to risk everything. If you believe stories about kindness, second chances, and the quiet heroes who change lives deserve to be told, take a moment right now to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. And tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? Arman Kadir had once been a man who believed he could control outcomes. A disciplined investor, respected in his industry, admired for his sharp mind and tireless work ethic, he built his life with precision. But success had come at a cost he never fully measured. Years earlier, when his wife Saira passed away during childbirth, Arman's world collapsed into grief so heavy it stole the air from his lungs. The hospital corridors, the sterile lights, the unbearable stillness of the delivery room, those memories haunted him long after condolences faded. He had lost the love of his life, yet gained two tiny souls who, according to doctors, would never live normally. The twins, Zayan and Zamal, were diagnosed with severe neurological paralysis. The prognosis was devastating. They would not walk, the specialists said. They would not speak. Their bodies would remain prisoners of an unresponsive nervous system. Arman remembered sitting there, numb, staring at medical charts he could not comprehend, wondering how fate could be so merciless. The children became both his reason to live and the source of his unending sorrow. He poured money into treatments, therapies, consultations, experimental procedures, each one ending in disappointment. Hope became a fragile currency, constantly depleted. As years passed, Arman's home transformed into a place of careful routines and quiet heartbreak. The nursery evolved into a medicalized space filled with equipment, specialized beds, and muted colors chosen to soothe rather than inspire. The twins grew, but not in the way children should. Their eyes followed movement, their faces sometimes twitched with emotion, yet their bodies remained still, their voices absent. Arman loved them fiercely, but guilt shadowed every moment. He blamed himself for Saira's death, for the children's condition, for everything he could not fix. It was during this long winter of despair that Mayare entered their lives. She arrived as a recommendation from a distant relative, a young maid from a modest background, soft-spoken, diligent, with eyes that carried both gentleness and resilience. Arman barely noticed her at first, his days blurred between work and caregiving obligations, his nights drowned in exhaustion. But Mayare noticed everything. She moved through the house quietly, yet with an attentiveness that felt almost maternal. She learned the twins' schedules, assisted with their care, and performed her duties with unusual devotion. Over time, something subtle began to change within the home. Though the twins remained physically unresponsive, Mayare treated them not as patients, but as children. She decorated their room with small handmade crafts, played soft melodies, read stories aloud even when no reaction was visible. She spoke to them as though they understood every word, as though silence were merely a temporary barrier rather than a permanent wall. Arman observed this from a distance, at times perplexed, at times moved. He had grown cautious of hope. She seemed immune to such fear. Months turned into years, and Mayare became an inseparable presence in their lives. The twins' eyes appeared more alert when she was near. Their breathing patterns subtly shifted at the sound of her voice. Tiny, almost imperceptible signs that Arman dismissed as coincidence or wishful thinking. Medical experts had spoken with certainty. Arman had learned not to challenge science. Yet Mayare continued her quiet rituals, unwavering. Then came the night that changed everything. A violent storm raged outside, rain striking windows like scattered gravel, thunder shaking the foundations of the house. Arman sat alone in his study, unable to sleep, drowning in familiar thoughts. Grief, regret, exhaustion, old companions that never left. Suddenly, through the roar of the storm, a faint sound reached his ears. At first, he thought it was the wind or his imagination. But then it came again, fragile, trembling, unmistakably human. His heart pounded as he rushed toward the twins' room. What he saw there froze him in disbelief. Mayare sat beside the children, her face pale, eyes glistening with tears. Zamal's lips trembled, Zion's chest heaved erratically, and then, impossibly, another sound emerged, strained, broken, yet real. Not words, not quite, but an attempt, a voice struggling to be born. Arman's mind could not reconcile the scene. Years of medical verdicts, countless failed treatments, and yet here, in the middle of a storm, the impossible unfolded. Emotions surged through him, confusion, fear, hope so sharp it hurt. He looked at Mayare, searching for explanation, and saw something in her expression that unsettled him. It was not surprise. It was sorrow. That was when the truth began to surface. The revelation did not arrive as a single confession, but as a flood of painful understanding. Mayare had discovered something months earlier. Something buried within medical records Arman had never revisited. Something hidden beneath layers of misinterpretation and negligence. The twins were never truly paralyzed in the irreversible sense Arman had been told. Their condition, though serious, had been misdiagnosed. A rare but treatable disorder, obscured by error and compounded by rushed conclusions. Years of lost opportunity. Years stolen by a mistake no one bothered to question. Mayare had carried this knowledge alone, terrified of consequences, uncertain how to confront a man of Arman's stature. She had spent months observing, researching quietly, seeking confirmation through discreet channels, risking her position and security. Fear battled with conscience, but compassion prevailed. She could not allow the children's lives to fade within a false narrative. Arman's world collapsed under the weight of this reality. Rage, anguish, guilt, emotions collided violently within him. He replayed every memory, every decision, every unquestioned assumption. How many chances had he unknowingly forfeited? How much suffering had been avoidable? The pain was unbearable, yet intertwined with a fierce, trembling hope. What followed was a relentless journey toward redemption. Specialists were consulted anew, treatments initiated with urgency, therapies designed with precision and care. Progress was agonizingly slow, each small improvement a victory carved from years of despair. Muscles responded gradually, reflexes awakened, sounds evolved into attempts at words. The house, once defined by silence, began to breathe with fragile life. Arman transformed alongside his children. The hardened investor, the grieving widower imprisoned by guilt, slowly rediscovered purpose beyond sorrow. Gratitude replaced pride, humility softened his edges. He no longer saw Mayare as merely an employee, but as the catalyst of a miracle, the quiet force who dared to challenge fate. The twins' eventual voices, when they fully emerged, did not erase the years of pain, but they reframed everything. Their laughter became a symphony of resilience. Their steps, though delayed, carried the weight of extraordinary triumph. Arman learned that love is not measured by control or certainty, but by the courage to believe again. And Mayare, the young woman who risked everything, became a permanent part of their family story. A reminder that heroes often arrive without fanfare, armed only with compassion and moral courage. If this story has touched your heart, if it made you reflect on hope, on second chances, on the extraordinary impact one person can have, please take a moment to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and pass this story forward. Your engagement helps keep stories like this alive. Before we reach the end, we have a special request for you. In the comments, write the words, "Kindness changes destinies," if you believe a single act of courage can transform lives. Because sometimes, the most powerful miracles do not come from wealth, medicine, or authority. Sometimes they come from the quiet strength of someone the world barely notices. Someone who refuses to accept silence as the final answer. And when truth finally awakens, it does not just change lives, it restores them.